Definition of networking is the exchange of information and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest, usually in an informal setting. Basically, networking is connecting. So you've got a business, someone else does, you're trying to put those people together, and that's the definition of networking. This guy has it together. He's, hello, my name is Indigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. So he's already got a polite greeting, he said his name, relevant personal link, and manage expectations. So you know what's going on. My wife's a big fan, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. Some people like it. So the biggest thing, I say this at the Chamber 101 events, sometimes people don't realize it. Sometimes they join the chamber and they think business is just going to start flowing out. And it doesn't always work that way. You have to get involved and do some things. So I tell everybody to put those things, put all the events on your calendar. Show up when you can. You can't show up to everything, but put them on your calendar in case you can. And then engage with other people when you're there. So seems pretty simple, but I've got on there, practice a 30-second elevator speech before you attend. So people are going to want to know what it is that you do and have that at the ready. Just high spots. Nobody wants to hear you ramble on and on and on and on and on and take up all their time, but high spots are what you do so they know what it is. If it's too short, they don't know who you are. You know, just these introductions going around. Hi, I'm Joey, Remax Heritage. And if I sit there, nobody really knows what it is that you do. But if you give a good little punch, I do residential and sometimes commercial real estate. And it's simple, everybody knows. Be approachable and smile. I think that's important. A lot of times people don't, you know, they're kind of tucked back in the shadows and hoping nobody talks to them. But just smile and people will gravitate to you just because you're smiling. Be sure and bring business cards when you come to networking. A lot of people don't do that, but also don't force feed them on everybody like, hey, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. Sometimes that's a put off to people as well. I've learned that over the years. Initially, I think I felt like I had to, or some people do. He's gonna sing. He's gonna start singing.
Don't forget to turn off your
Silence your phone. Silence your phones before you go into networking. It's always a plus. If you don't, have fun with it so that people remember that you were silly. If you don't have business cards with you, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you're brand new, you don't even have cards yet. Have an electronic card or take that other person's card, and as soon as you get back to the office or back home, send them a quick email. It was nice to meet you. All that little follow-up pieces builds over time. So just get prepared and know that that's a part of it. There's lots of online business cards that you can go and make for free even and have. If anybody has, you know, questions about that or anything after any of this is over, feel free to hit me up and I'll be happy to walk you through any of that kind of stuff. And we'll probably share this. I can share the presentation with everybody as well, in case there's anything that you can't see because it's too small on the screen. Don't launch into a sales pitch right away. When you go to meet somebody, don't make it a full-on about you thing. Learn about their business too, because it goes both ways. Everything that we do in networking is about helping each other, not just, I gotta get more business, I gotta talk to as many people as I can, and I'm gonna get business that way. It doesn't work that way. And a lot of people don't realize that until you've done it long enough that it starts to come naturally. I've got several different ways that you can connect with people. You know, if you walk up to them and you're just talking to them about family or what's going on or those kinds of things, some of that stuff just comes naturally by getting to know somebody. There's a lot of meetings that you can go to. I won't mention those specifically because I know some people go to those kind of groups, but if you go to meetings and they are, how many referrals did you get me and how many this and how many that, sometimes people they start telling stories and making things up and that kind of thing. If you go to those kind of meetings, they're very, very good for people, but don't be that person that makes up a connection so that you can go show something on a piece of paper. It's not about that. It's about getting to know that person and trying to help those people out. I've got a name tag, and I have several of them. You can actually get one from the chamber. The chamber will have one made for you, and I think they're 20 bucks to have them made by a local member. So, go back and talk to the staff, and they'll get you one made up. And people will ask, hey, you work for the chamber? Because it's got the LS on there. No, I'm actually the chair of the Military Affairs Committee, and I work for RE/MAX. So that's so much softer than, I do real estate. Do you have a house to sell? Is there something I can do to, get money out of you? That's not what that's about. Make sure that you've got the thing that tells them who your name is. Because sometimes people just, I kind of remember you, but I don't remember your name. So having that name tag is helpful. And I've got one for all the different places that I go to. So have those at the ready. They're not very expensive. This is my classic Michael Scott stuff from The Office. He wants to be even more approachable. So that was back to the smile thing. Make sure when you're smiling and that you're open to people coming and talking to you. Sometimes people are just really, put off by people that are standing over in the corner or something. So one thing that I took, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was sitting at a networking meeting and somebody had learned this from someone else that they do, but it was a thing that stuck with me. That was, business moves at the speed of trust. So there's so much truth to that. Everybody talks about somebody's got to know and like and trust you before they'll do business with you. And you have to do those basic things before anybody's going to really see you as a resource when the time comes. That's the other piece. Not everybody needs to, do what it is that you do. Like, I may not need garage doors right now, but I'm going to run into somebody that does. And whenever I need garage doors, I'm going to go and I'm going to call the people that I know that are in the chamber that I've met at a group, and it's going to be the right time then. So you just have to slowly build it over time. Use the 80-20 rule, 80% listening, 20% talking. I have a hard time with that myself. So, but it is, you got 2 ears, use them. You'll learn so much about everybody if you just listen and learn about them. I know there's been, I've known Lisa forever. She actually got me to join. She got me to do different things in different communities, actually. She's helped me a lot, and I've gotten to know her and Rick over the years. And the more you get to know people, the more you know, like, and trust them, you're going to point people to them and do good things that will eventually come back around to you. I think that's important to know, too. Go to a meeting, even if you know that someone that you need isn't somebody you need right now. Because so many times I've run into somebody that needs that person. I went to a ribbon cutting yesterday and I had somebody ask me, do you know anybody that can help me start an LLC for entrepreneurial type business? I said, you know what, I do. I'm sure I can figure that out. And so I got 2 cards from people yesterday for people that I have been clients over the years and helped. And then I'm also seen as a resource for finding those people. So look at it that way too. If you can meet a bunch of people and be that resource or that go-to person that knows a guy or a gal, that's huge. I think that's one of the best benefits of being in the chamber is being able to have a guy or a gal for just about anything, if not a couple of them. Some of the best testimonials that you can give is by utilizing a business and having a good story from them. You've got lots of choices in all of our types of business. I mean, everybody knows three or four realtors, right? But it's that experience that you give them or that you learn from them while you're networking and talking to them that is going to be what they turn around and cheerlead for you whenever they're out in the community. So you want to give good experiences and grab as much of that as possible whenever you're talking. So attend to the networking event and help somebody else. So I get a huge kick out of that, and I know my first year in, kind of go back to that whenever I was in, I made the chamber my life. So like that's what I did. I just went to events and I didn't have any business. Let's just see what I can do to go to all these different places. And I was the connector of the year I was new member of the year in 2016, or I think it was 16 or 17. And I was like, all I did was just show up to stuff. I didn't do a whole lot, but as you do that, you'll meet new people who can use the chamber or who can use different services, and then you get this surprise award or something. But it's about helping other people. You guys probably got the little doodads on the tables and may not know what some of them are, but this is the little black thing, if you see it, is a little camera cover that you can put on your laptop. And having little stuff like that whenever you're out and about and something as a takeaway. My previous business, before I was in real estate, my franchise was an advertising franchise. So I learned a lot of what people would do that worked, didn't work, maybe worked better for certain businesses than others. But it's important to have some sort of a takeaway or a memory when you're at networking so that people remember something about you. Have a website. If you don't have a website, ask somebody. There's free websites you can use. Google My Business is something that is free for you to go out and claim. Google My Business. We probably, if you're a business owner or have been for any period of time, you get phone calls all the time. Hey, I'm calling from Google. I'm trying to verify your business. That's not how it works. You go out online, you go to Google My Business, you plug in your information and claim your business. They will send you a postcard in the mail with a code on it. You enter that code, and once you've done that, you can actually go out and post things and update, put your hours and all those kinds of things. That's one thing that I learned early on. I've actually gotten referrals from across the country because people will Google you. They're going to find you or your reviews or any of that kind of stuff that's out there. Take the time to do those kinds of things. And if you don't know how to do it or you're not familiar, there's people in the chamber that can help you with that type of advertising. So I think that's also beneficial to get your brand out there. I'm very, very resistant to Facebook. You wouldn't know it because I post something on there just about every day. But people are on Facebook. A lot of people are out there, like it or not. In some ways it can consume people and take them away from their families, and that's why I don't like it. But it's an important thing out there that you have to at least have your brand out there. So if you're not doing that, do it where you can. I try to make 80% of it more personal, 20% of it business. If it's the business page, it's probably more business, but if it's personal, make it personal. People want to know about you. A lot of people are on LinkedIn as well. That's another thing to ask for when you're at networking is, are you on LinkedIn? Can we connect that way? And if so, work that way. Maybe you go have a coffee or something afterwards based on that meeting and connecting on LinkedIn. It's more of a professional version of Facebook if you don't have a LinkedIn profile. Another one's Alignable. You may have seen that before. It seems kind of spammy, I think, at first. If you haven't seen it, go out and it's worth setting up a profile on Alignable. If you haven't, I did it just to see what it was worth. It was free, didn't cost me anything to do it. I've had several coffees and lunches and things like that. It was especially helpful through the pandemic to be able to go and either meet somebody or go on a Zoom call or something like that. And then if there's any industry-specific profiles that you have for your type of business, it's worth going out and setting up a profile on that. All of these things were free. They didn't cost me a dime to build my brand and put it out there and share those things. So, get reviews from raving fans. When you've got somebody who likes the experience that you've given them, ask them to give you a review. Even if somebody didn't buy a house from me, I still can say, they know me, they know what I do. They can say, hey, Joey would be a great guy to work with, or, I really like doing everything this way with Lisa. She's just a wonderful person. So you put that out there, and then people are going to gravitate you that way.
I'll have that money later.
Yes, yes. The other thing is leverage your vendors to co-op and brand you. If you aren't doing that now, it is smart. As you start your business, initially, you want to make sure that it's about your brand and your face and your business. But if you have vendors that are willing to help, and they can help at the same time that you're trying to build your business, it's worth doing. I had a moving company that said, hey, would you care if we made door hangers with our stuff on the back of it if we put you on the front of it? And I was like, no, please do that. That'd be great. I'll have my daughter pass them out. And from that, it didn't cost me anything other than my daughter passing them around the neighborhood or whatever. But because of doing that one thing, someone else saw that I had those, and they were like, hey, I would do that. And so now I had a pest control person that was doing it. Now they're doing it for free. So there's lots of things like that in all of our industries. If you've got a supplier to garage doors or any of those kinds of things, they will jump in and help if you ask. So don't be afraid to use those resources that you've got out there. The opposite of networking is not working, said someone smart. You got to show up. That's the biggest thing. I mean, I think so many times, over the times that I've come to networking, there's been times you're just like, I don't know, do I want to go? Like, is it something I want to do today, really? Or I've really got all this stuff over here going on, but do I go and talk to those people? And the answer is yes, keep doing it. Keep trying to connect with people because you never know what's right around the corner. One of the stories I had, I'll save the names to protect the innocent, but I had...
That's assuming they're innocent.
Yeah, it is assuming they're innocent, you're right. So we had a really good coffee at... So we just had a before hours coffee thing, and I can tell, like, you can walk up to people and you can tell whether they're like, are they happy to be here, or are they wondering if this is just not for them, or what have you. So I kind of sometimes will go try to find those people and say, hey man, how's it going, or hey, is this your first event, or whatever, and just have some fun. Yeah, I just really feel like maybe it's not working for me. And I say, you know what, I've been there before. I get it. I understand sometimes you just feel like, some days you wake up and you're just like, I don't want to network today. I don't want to. I don't feel like it. I had a situation like that. It's been several years back. And I tell people this story because I literally was like, man, I really feel like it's not the best use of my time today. I went, someone introduced me to someone else. I ended up getting a commercial listing. I sold another property for them, and I ended up selling their house and helping to buy another one. All off of that one meeting that I didn't really know whether I should, go to. So just think of that on the backside of every one of these things that you come to. It's an investment of time, but it's worth it. Every one of those is a seed that comes around. So keep going. It doesn't work if you don't come and make it work. Professionalism, I just threw this out there because I feel like sometimes that's gone down. I know with COVID, people have gotten a lot more lax, but I think it's important that if you're coming to networking, you're coming and you're looking sharp and you're here to do business, and you only get one chance to give that first impression on somebody. So if you haven't thought about it before you go, just think in the back of your mind, okay, I'm gonna do something different today. I'm gonna wear that special shirt. I'm gonna wear that whatever. I'm looking at my shoes this morning and I was like, man, I did new construction yesterday and they're all trashed. I'm thinking about that, like I don't have time to go and clean up my shoes, but those kinds of things matter. to some people more than others, but it's important to be professional and to be respectful of others in their time, and to be present in that conversation that you're having with them. If you whip out your phone and you're like, you're not there. So mindful momentum, jump in and be present in the moment and be there for that networking. Don't just go to say you went. Hey, my boss said I could get off early if I only did this thing today. I know that happens sometimes too, but and I'm going on and on and on. But you guys, is there anything in this room that you guys have learned over the last of the years of being in chamber or networking anywhere else? Is there anybody that has had a wow or aha moment that they've done that was like, man, I really... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I love Recess to Success just for this reason, because when I started, I knew nothing about running my own business. And one of the things I learned early on, and you kind of talked about it, Joey, was to keep at it. Even when business is good and you don't think you have time, there's always gonna be that time where you always have to keep. So I just always go back to that and just really try to be intentional about continuing to network. Sometimes there's months that are easier than others in terms of the events that you can get to or the coffees that you can have with people, but just not to underestimate that and continue to make it even when business is good.
Right.
You need a benefit statement
Yes.
as part of your introduction. Without a benefit statement, people don't remember what you're about.
Sure.
The fact that you're in real estate, there has to be something that catches their ears and stays with them in order to make that connection that you're trying to make when you're networking.
Sure. Yeah, something different. So when I first got started, and I'll tell you why that connection gave me those, 4 different pieces of business. I was there and I had calluses on my insides of my thumbs, and I was just tired and beat down. I had just finished helping a teacher. It was actually my, and this is what I just tell people stories and then it turns into business. So I think everybody should have those stories at the ready. But I had calluses on my hands. I just finished mowing a yard of my daughter's percussion teacher that I helped buy a house for. Somebody had given him a hand-me-down mower. The mower broke right in the middle of Ona's yard, and then he had to go get a bunch of furniture from downtown to move it. And when he did that, he goes, "You know somebody that can fix mowers?" And I'm like, "I do. Let me go over and see what you got going on." And I loaded up my mower. I went over. I mowed the yard for him twice because it was like hay. And then weeded along his house and all that kind of stuff. Made it all nice. Threw it in the back of my Tahoe. And went home, took a shower, and then went in, and I was like, okay, got networking, let's get this going. So I'm literally just whooped from that. And that was the kind of thing that I did because he needed it, and somebody's like, what do you do differently if you're a realtor than somebody else who's just gonna put my house on the market or help me buy a house or whatever? So I told that story. The lady was like, yes, my guy doesn't have time for me to even call me back. So you're my guy. And so then I became that person. Everybody's got those stories that they've done that have been just a little bit more than average, right? So when you have those kinds of pieces, that's your benefit statement, right? That what's different about what it is that you do. Everybody has them. Everybody has those. So have them at the ready as you're having those conversations, and you never know what they turn into. So when you don't know what to say to someone when you're at networking, there's something called Ford. And if you can remember the horribly made vehicle Ford, then you can remember family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. I'm a Chevy guy. But family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. If you can't think of anything to talk to about that person or with that person, You can always talk about family. You can always talk about what is it you do. What do you do for fun? What do you want to do someday when you want to grow? What do you want to be when you grow up? And share your experiences and challenges about business or networking. Odds are the other person's feeling the same idea. So I went to a coffee very recently. Someone was kind of feeling like a whooped pup. Went up, talked to him, connected him to someone else. He ended up getting one of the biggest deals he's ever done, or at least a connection to that. And as he walked away, he's like, hey man, good karma. And was like, good deal. So that not only made him feel super good and pumped up, I feel great that I helped this guy and this guy get together and they can utilize each other, right? So that, just by talking and having that conversation, when you're at networking, you had somebody over there that says, hello. I don't know that person. I thought that was kind of clever. There's a lot of people when you go to networking, and I talked about having an exercise where everybody just gets up and goes sit by somebody different. I'm not going to do that to you, but have that in your head when you walk into a networking group or a meeting or even a ribbon cutting. Try to go walk and talk to somebody that you don't normally see if you've gone to networking. That kind of leads into this. We have a tendency to gravitate to those that are most familiar with at meetings. Sometimes people say that that's clickiness, or I don't want to be a part of that because I feel like that's a club and I don't want to be a part of that. So the way we can combat that is go and talk to different people and mix it up and try to get around the room. You still want to grow relationships with those people that you know. I mean, you don't want to, hey Bruce, I'm not going to talk to you today because I know Bruce really well. I'm still going to go talk to Bruce because I care about Bruce and his life. I want to know. But I also got to hint, I've got on there, get outside your comfort zone, make it a goal to go around the four corners of a room. So have a picture in your mind, I'm going to get over here, I'm going to get over there, over here, over here. You may not get all the way around, but if you made an attempt and you saw 2 or 3 new people, it's worth it. And then find a wallflower or a nervous person. You may be that person. Go find the other one. There's usually somebody in the room that's like, I don't know what I want to do today, but go find them. And odds are they'll open up to you, and then you can have a conversation, and you'll build from there. I've gotten to know a lot of good people that way, just going and talking to them. So set the next meeting as an informal one-on-one appointment. So whether it's going to a coffee, pick a local chamber member business like a coffee shop, lunch spot, go for a happy hour. If they don't do any of that kind of stuff, hey, I don't do stuff outside of work, ask them when they're going to the next chamber meeting that's coming up. There's a lot of stuff on the calendar all the time. We get ready to leave here, Matt's going to say, here's all the stuff that's going on. Come to one of these things. Hey, when are you going to go to the next one? Or hey, are you going to make that? Reach out after the meeting. Pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I know you're kind of new, but would you want to go to that ribbon cutting that's coming up? I've been wanting to check that place out. Those kinds of things are what build it up to you being the person they think of whenever your business is needed, whether it's for them or someone else. So those are some pieces. Whatever you do with intention to help others, and it will eventually come back around. It took me a little while to realize that, but that is 100% what networking is about. It's about connecting to other people. And this is Zig Ziglar. It says you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that is so true. If you do that, people naturally just want to give back to you because you're helping them. So that's probably the number one thing that I could say would be helpful when you're doing networking. Go at it with a servant's heart to try to help that person, and it will come back around ultimately in your business for you or your company. And that's I ripped right through a lot of stuff there, but that was what I put together. I don't know if anybody else has any other stories like that or anything else that they've come up with.
It's not really well, it is a story, but it's also, you said, it's networking in the chamber isn't limited to coming to a crowded event like this. In our chamber, we have a lot of ways to network, and I would say, find a committee, and a committee that becomes a networking event. Joey and I are on a committee together, Bruce and I are on a committee, Tina, and if you're not there at that committee, you forget about that person after you're, yes, we financed our house, and the person that I would have gone to hadn't come to the membership committee for 2 years or something, but we were partners in the membership committee, and then whenever he wasn't there for 2 years, I went with somebody I barely knew, anyway. But the membership committee becomes an offshoot of that networking, because then you can handpick the people you want to talk to in the chamber. And I did that. I went to Rocky Orthopedics every time their name came up. And for, I don't know how many times I went to Rocky Orthopedics until all of a sudden they didn't like their vendor and they called me out of the blue. And so they were our best customer for some years in a row until the hospital took over all their operations. They were at the top of our list. So a committee in the Lee Summit Chamber becomes a networking event by itself. And from that committee, all the people you can meet as a result of that committee.
Yeah.
So, membership committee is the bomb.
So Brian King was the chair of the membership committee when I was the co-chair several years back. We are currently buying a home. My family, we're getting ready to buy a house. And it was in my mind, because I know so many different people that do that kind of thing, I wanted to go back and ask as many of those people as I could be top of mind, right? And ask, hey, what would my rates be if I went to go with you on that deal? Super helpful. And don't feel like when you're talking to these people that, well, I already have a person over here. It's okay. At least call them and see what is it that they can do for you. You tried. It may not be the best price or the best, specifically for you, but give it a shot, and you've tried it, I guess, is the question. Brian King, in my particular case, was the least expensive person. In ours, we had been very loyal to a company for a very, very long time, and we decided we wanted to stay loyal to that company long term, even though it was a little more expensive. But Brian appreciated that I reached out to him and asked for a quote, and because of that, I'm gonna have clients that I'm gonna point to Brian too.
Where is Brian?
What's that?
Where is Brian?
I don't know, I haven't seen Brian in a while. I know, but it's a connection that I made a long time ago at the chamber, at networking, and it's still here. Years later, when I finally have the need to do it, I lived in my house for 19 years, and I'm now finally moving. So it's the time that they need you when it comes to mind that comes back around.
Hey, real quick, I'll mention, so you asked what Brian is. So Brian, because of his involvement on a number of fronts, he's actually on the board. He's vice chair. And he is extending everything to Zoom right now. He's not doing anything in person. So you're not going to see Brian, I think, so his children, a child is vaccinated. But that's where he's at. But yeah, he's highly involved still.
Sure, yep. And it's when I talked to him, it was just like I talked to him yesterday. So that's what I love too, is when you do have those meetings and consistency with people, you can pick up whenever you need them, and they're going to be there for you. They really are. My wife, right before, as I was putting this together, she's like, you need to tell them that our whole life is networking. Like, when we went from having our business that we started in advertising to real estate, the person that we went to, the broker, was in a networking thing. So he was the person I gravitated to talk to when it came to real estate. Our financial planner is somebody that we networked with. The very first sale that I had was somebody that I networked with. Everything, the job that she does remote closings for title companies, my wife does. And she loves it. She's like a little bee running all over town. And it's because of people that we met from networking a long time ago. And it just goes on and on and on and on. There's so many connections that are made, and it's important. It's a very important part of our life, whether it's business or outside of business, make those connections, because it's good for your business and it's good for your soul long term to meet those people. You never know who you're going to meet. So, does anybody else have any questions? I guess, or did you think when you came to this, I thought I was going to be learning about X? I'm happy to share anything that I've learned, and I'm sure there's lots of other people who need this as well. Any other input?
I would say take the 1 hour with Derek Gardner too, because he's that personal branding guy who can tell you the truth about yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dick.
Yeah. Right between the eyes. What's your benefit statement?